everybody, it's Erin Reed and welcome to my Card Making Wednesdays. I'm sorry I'm not live today, but we have guests in town and it's a little hard to do a live video when you've got people in your house. So I had to record this one a little bit ahead of time. I decided to make another fun fold card. As you can see, look how fun this is. We're going to take you step by step on how to create this. To make the base of the card, it takes one sheet of an 8.5 by 11 cardstock, but then you can have fun putting all your other fun layers on there. And my theme for this one I thought was so cute. I went with this cute stamp, and it's all about the fox and the hound, and I love the hound because we're actually puppy sitting this week, and so it really got me thinking about cute little doggies. First step you need to do is take your sheet and you want to go to 5.5 and save this because this is going to be for that little front fold flap. Your next cut is at 9.25. So now you've got 5.5 by 9.25. So now you're going to get a little scoring tool and you can use your measuring system here, and you are going to score at the 1.5 mark, and that's what this little flap is right here. And you can use a scoring tool, or you can use like a scoring board, or you can use your cutting system like this. So once I learned this trick, I have not stopped. So go to 1.5. Now I flip this over, and now I'm going to score at 3.5. Now what if you don't have any kind of like a scoring tool? Now I've folded all these. This is the basis of our card. But if you don't have any of these fun scoring systems, don't worry about it. Just fold it by hand and then just run your hand back and forth. Fold it the other way, run your hand back and forth. I just happen to have this and it helps with the scoring. I've also used my fingernail to help score as well. All right, so set this part aside. That goes right there. And now you're going to want to take your other sheet of paper and you're going to want to cut a 3 by 6 inch. So you're going to make a little 3 by 3 mini card. And then just fold this in half. If you want to score this at the 3-inch mark, go for it. But this is one where I just eyeball it. Because I had some funky folds in the inside of the card, this is your base of your card, which is your A2 size card right here. And you can see just right here. There it is. That's the one where I had to do the scores and measure those out. But this piece right here is just a straight in half fold. All right, so save all these little bits for later. You can always use this for extra stamping, the mats and so forth. So just to kind of show you where the layout is coming from, our card goes like this and like this. And if you wanted to leave this full, then cut this whole card into a 10-inch card, which is what the original card was like. I've modified a little bit to make this flap a tiny bit smaller, just for a little bit of a different interest or something a little bit different about it. Now that I have all my cards, this is the base of the card, and here's the fun. It's now time to start adding in all of my mat layers. So I've already pre-cut all of these, and I pretty much scoured my entire stash of paper to find stuff that was all black and white or gray and white in dots, zigzags. I had a full 12 by 12 sheet of this gray dot paper, so I used that for the basis of almost all of, actually the whole card. I used the entire 12 by 12 sheet of paper because it was just small little mats. And heads up, all the measurements are going to be down below for you guys. So before you can add your little flap, you do have to add all of your mat layers. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. So now here is the beginning of your card. Super cute card. Look at all the fun layers. And you could leave a card just like this. I mean, that could be an adorable card. And the more that you kind of work this fold, the more it'll lay flat. But adding this to that piece will help it lay flat because it puts some weight on there. And heads up, all supplies and links are going to be down below for you guys. All right, so now it's time to add our little front folding piece. Now I have this set, so it's a little bit higher, which gives me room to put a sentiment down here. I originally put a sentiment on this square, but I think I'm going to leave that off this time. So I'm just kind of lining it up. I'm using the dots, really. It's kind of my guide. I don't want to have too much space over here. I don't want to leave too much space here. So lining it up so you just see that one set of dots, a few set of dots at the top. Yes, dots be your guide. It's perfect. So you only need to add a little bit of adhesive right here, and then place that down. And there we go, just like that. And that's the beginning of our card. Now to add the mats to this card. So on this particular card, the first front page, I have the dots. Well, the dots and the zigzags are actually the same paper. This one actually came from a Snap, a Simple Stories pack, and I loved it because it still had all those blacks and grays and white tones on there. So I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to put the zigzags on this one. And you could place the zigzags this way, or you could place them the other way. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to open up my card, and I found this fun paper. Now, this is an optical illusion. Do you see stars, or do you see like a little worm? It's one of those, like, what do you see first? At first, I saw the worm, and then I came back and looked, and I said, no, I saw the stars. So I love how it's just one of those which pattern do you happen to see? It's kind of cool. So this is my second pattern paper that's going to go down on here. And if you notice, I actually use a very different one. It's this one that we're going to be using on the inside of our card in the minute, which we already actually did put down. It is this one. So since I used this piece right here, I decided to use the opposite for the card. So it's kind of a fun way of doing the similar cards, but changing up which pattern. So here you can see it's the opposite. Oops, there we go. So here, so matching, and then I've just reversed it, so that piece is right there. Just something a little different with the cards. Now, since I used the little straight line wavy, whatever you want to call it, we're going to do the dots on the inside here. And then there's this little piece right here, which I've cut just enough to fit on there and just fits perfectly. On this paper, I found a gray one that came from Lawn Fawn, but it was the tiniest piece. I did not have any more of it left. And so I just went back to one that I had enough to cut with all my scraps, and I had this one. When the card is open this way, you don't see this pattern paper. So now it also allows you to have different, you don't have the same pattern paper next to each other at any time. Even when you open it this way, none of the patterns are the same overlapping or on top. Here we go, it's still different. The only time they're the same is here and here, and it kind of makes a continuous looking card. Same for this card. So if you look, and that's why I kind of imagined it, that no pattern paper would be overlapping or being seen depending on which way you open the card, except for the very, very front side. Just a little kind of a fun illusion in a way. All right, so now we're going to move on to the stamping and the coloring. I'm going to give you some tips about how to color each of the dog and also the fox. I went with very simplistic colors, which is where all the grays and blacks came from. I really wanted my little fun guys to pop. So I'm just going to use some Simon Says stamp. On the original card, I put a little sentiment at the bottom that came from a scrapbook.com stamp set that had a whole bunch of our friends, which we're going to be using in the card, but I'm not going to put that in the card this time. So instead, I'm just going to center the stamp right here in the middle and just leave it plain. I think I'm also going to do a little bit of stitching because I did that throughout the card, and I love the look of that. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly stamp these. So I don't have a ton of a whole bunch of colors. I have a smattering of a few different kinds. So I have some Copics, I have some Style File, I have some Arteza. So I find the colors that work the best, and I just blend whatever works. So what I'm doing is I'm taking like a light tan. This is the Arteza. It's called Jasmine Yellow. It's the best I could find for kind of a light color for the dog. And I'm using that as the base color, and I'm just coloring in the whole entire dog. So now a little bit of kind of some shading you can do is you can come over the eyes and just go a little heavier right on top of the eyes. I did not do that with this guy yet. So it just adds a little bit of some heavier shading. I'm not changing the color. It's just adding a little bit of an extra color on top of what is already there, and that just adds to that shading capability. Now I'm going to come in with my lighter gray, which happens to be my Copic, and this one is BB23, and that's what I'm doing the ears and the paws. I'm going to go ahead and color those in, and just straight coloring. Now I have a darker gray. It actually turns it a little bit darker, and that's where we're going to do the fun little spots. So he's got a couple little spots right here, and I just wanted to have a little bit of a difference of a gray. And then he also has this little spot on his tail. So I'm just doing a little bits of some darker stuff. There we go. And then I have a Copic pink. This is an RV30, and that's what I'm doing all the noses in that really fun light pink color. And if you feel like you come back and it's like, ah, it's not pink enough because when that's dried, you can always come back in and kind of darken it. They do tend to lighten, I think, a little bit as they dry. So now that is done, if you want to come in with any kind of marker, I always like to come in and redo the eyes. I did not color over the eyes, but I just want them to really pop and shine. And if you notice any other spots that you want to kind of fix with the stamping, you're more than welcome to do so. But I'm going to call that little guy done. With the exception of, I'm going to add some stitching. I did this with some of the other parts of the card, but basically this is all you do. You just do a little bit of some dash work. I think it kind of finishes it. I've been doing it on a lot of my cards lately, and I just love the feel of it. All right, so now we're moving on to our cute little fox. I had to do, again, another blend of colors because I didn't have all of them in one brand. I'm taking the darkest color, which happens to be my Arteza marker, and just kind of doing a good chunk of the tail, doing the back of the little hindquarters, kind of up the body, doing a portion of the fox's mouth, up here on its little kind of what I call its bangs, and then the other side of, not his mouth, of his face, his fur face. Now I'm going to come in with the next lighter color, which is also another Arteza one. This is the peach one here, and I'm going to add a bit more. Just kind of adding a bit more, going a little bit further, a little further, a little further. So just kind of adding. And with this one, I'm also doing all of the ears. The mid-tone, I decided that's what the ears were going to be. So I'm adding the ears right here, right here. And then also doing the portion of the legs, the little bottoms of the legs that you see right there. Come in with my lightest color, which is a Copic R30. And now I come in and I basically just blend the whole thing. I'm just going to go over all of it. Hit the sections that look like it's bangs. Follow the direction of the hair. Come in and blend as much the color as you can in. Come in, follow, re-go over all the colors, kind of blend them in. When I do a section like this tail, I don't go over the line. I want to stay within that line. Same with the hindquarters. I stay right in there and I blend in. I keep the tummy white and then come in very gently underneath the chin and just continue coloring all the way around. So I'm going to come in with that gray Copic marker that I have. This is the BB23, and I wanted to match my little fox and my hound because they're friends, and so this is where they're matching. This is the one color that's the same on both of the little critters, and it kind of ties them together. I didn't really realize I was doing it at first, and I realized, oh, that's kind of fun. So yeah, I kind of tied the two pieces together so it's not completely different colors on everything. So there is that. And the last thing is I'm going to come in with that dark pink again and do the nose and the little tongue down here and just add that little bit of color. Now the final thing is there's a couple things I want to re-emphasize. For instance, I did color over the eyes, so I want to make them dark just like this. And then I also want to come in and re-emphasize the nose and the mouth. I didn't feel like it got a super good stamp, and I'm just re-going over. Didn't do a very good job right there. And just kind of re-emphasizing it. And you could do that with a whole bunch of other portions. I did it with the tail. If you're really careful with it, then it looks really good. Sometimes it can get a little messy, or just do a nice, really good clear stamp to begin with. I'm also going to come and do the stitching on this one as well. All right, so once you open up the card, in this one I did a little foxy because there's a fox in the front. We have foxy and then a little fun stamp, and that's what these are. I'm changing out the stamp for the second card because we don't have a fox in the front. We have a hound, and there's a cute little sentiment that came from that stamp set, and it says, "Stop hounding around." So I'm going to do, or "Stop hounding me." So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that, and then I'm going to use the exact same sentiment that we used for the previous card and do "Friends are the family you choose." I'm going to do a little tiny fishtail. I'm just going to eyeball, add a little dot on either side, and then just cut that. Now it's just a matter of gluing all of your layers in place. Hound goes in the front first. So place that one right in the center there. And then we have our stamped sentiment. We have our little fox. And then we have our little "Stop Hounding Me" guy down here, and that's what fits. And I have to have the card closed so I know it fits just perfectly right there. And then this fits right in here, so it's a little hidden piece and you don't see it when the card is opened. So I kind of figured it out perfectly on this one. If you have one dot open and you just use that as your guide, it works really, really well about where to line that up. And then I just kind of check and go, yep. And my Xyron adhesive works great for this. So just checking again, and look at that, perfect. So now I've got this little piece in here, and I have this other side. I looked everywhere to see if I could find a little paw print stamp, and I don't think I have one. So my next best choice is I make a paw print. So I practiced quite a few, and what I come up with is that if I kind of draw a heart, do a little bit of a heart, and then I flip it upside down, and I round up the top and kind of round out the bottom and color it in. Just like that. It's a little bit of a heart shape, which is kind of cute. So there we go. And I'm making a smaller one. I actually did this upside down, but it's okay. My little paw print will be higher up. And then you've got to add in, and I always start from the top, your 4 little paw pads. And if you feel like it's too heart-like, you just kind of go over it and it looks like that. There you go. So that's how I make my little paw prints. I did them all by hand. So for this one, I'm going to do a sentiment, and I changed my mind. On this one, I put the "So Happy Your Friends" lower down. I'm going to add this a little bit higher up this time. I just feel like it's just a little bit of a change from the previous card. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp on the other paw prints. So here we go. Put this right in the center, kind of up high. Stamp that on. Perfect. And I did go ahead and do the stitching around this, and I did the stitching. So just to show you again, and I did it with the little one. I'm going to start off with, I'm going to do a paw print here. So I kind of lay them out, and that one's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit of a bigger paw. When I flip it over, I can kind of form it better. I should be making them a little bit more wide like that. And I think it needs 5 again, and I liked how it was kind of hanging off the edge, but this time I'm going to do it off the edge this way. I have a little bit of extra paper. So I'm going to pretend, now for here you get to see the paws, but we're not going to be seeing that this time. We're just going to be seeing the bottom of the paw print. So that's all you're really going to be seeing of that paw print there. It's just the very, very tip of it. And then you just kind of come in and you color it. And I would want to put this little sheet of paper back so I don't get my mat. It's already getting kind of gross, but at least it's not horrible. And you color it in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish all these paws and add the stitching. I'm going to go ahead and put this big one down, but we're going to come back and do the little ones later as we get further along in the card, because we also are going to use, and when we put the little guys down, we'll also put this little guy down, because we're going to do them in our Xyron sticker maker, because they're just too small to get your tape runner in the mess of that. So I got the center of the card, and I didn't like the dogs and the wolf, or the dog and the fox. Like on this one, they're just kind of free floating, which I think is fine because it's just a single element. But when there's 2 of them and it's a much larger space, they need to be on something. I thought, okay, a hill. And I had this one sheet of paper left, which that is where I got the back side of the diagonals, which you see right there. So we don't need it too much. I could have done that for this page, but I didn't want to cut into this until I was ready to show you guys what we were doing. So I've already cut this down to size to fit on our mats. And what I have is I have 2 sheets. I have a much larger mat, and I just wanted a little bit of a hint because I still wanted to have a tiny bit of a separator between the hill of the gray and the background paper. I wanted to be able to see kind of that white border. So I measured this to fit exactly the same width, which is perfect. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the side that I don't care to see. I don't like the zigzags for the hill. I like the dots for the hill better. I'm just going to do a little bit, oops, better get off that. Just doing a little bit of a hill, as best as you want to make that hill. And then a large pair of scissors, and that's why I always draw on the back side, with that have a large cut, so you can make it almost as continuous a line as possible. So this is what we put down on, gotta remember which one's which because they're so similar in size. This is what we put down in here. And then we have just a little bit of a hill, and you've matched it perfectly. So to help the separation, I'm going to grab a little bit of a black pen, and I'm using the broad strokes. And I'm going to use it right here. It's just giving that little bit of a separation. We're not really going to see the stuff at the bottom here, but I do it anyway because I'm just doing the whole card. And therefore it distinguishes the color when I mat it against here. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these layers together. And normally when I do mats, I go down by 1/4 of an inch, but for this one I went down by 1/2 of an inch before I did that very to this mat, and then just up 1/8 because I wanted to see more of this background paper. And the same thing for this side. I didn't do 1/4. This is 1/4 of an inch going down each way. So it went from 3 by 3 to 2 by 3/4 to 2 1/2. Perfect squares. So you can just see how much more of the paper. It depends on what you're wanting. So from here, we're going to take the large, we're going to keep on adding those stitches. I have actually been playing around with 2 different size pens. I did the larger nib size to make all of our little paw prints, and the smaller one for all the small stitching. But for the main focal point of our card, I'm going to do the large stitching, and I'm going to do that across the hill and then upwards on the hill. And you have to do this before you place your little guys. So just kind of go stitch, stitch, stitch. And then I'm going to go around the entire white portion of the card as well. And so far everything looks very gray, but then you add your little guys on there and they really do pop. They're not hiding in there. You're not going, where are they? They really do shine, and that was where I was going for. Now, when the long sentiment, we are inseparable, I thought that was perfect when the 2 of them are together. I'm going to stamp that just right here in the center. There we go. And if you notice, I had my little guys sticking down there, so I knew exactly where to put my stamp. Next step is I'm going to take all my little pieces. I'm going to run these through my sticker maker. I try to nestle them in as close as possible to each other so I don't run out of space. And the last thing is that I'm going to be putting some sequins on here. So I'm just going to dump a few of these out, and they're just gold sequins. And I just put them in, this is actually one of those It's the yogurt. I love the little containers. I'm still trying to decide exactly how I'm going to use them. But I'm going to take some of these sequins, and sequins to me can be kind of fussy little things. And since I already have my Xyron sticker maker out, I'm going to go ahead and pop a whole bunch of these in here and turn them into little tiny stickers. So I just kind of pick them up with my finger, and then I place them right onto the sticker part. So right in there, so you just really can see them. And I feel like I've got enough on there. I just roll it just a tiny bit forward, and I place a few more. All right, so the last thing we're gonna do is put our little embellishments that we have on here, and I think we have everything that we need. Place our little fox. I don't want to fully place it down because I want to make sure I have the two of them lined up just the way I want to. I want to kind of put the dog a little bit higher on the hill. It's eating up some of that white space right there, and I don't want to pop these up. They're a little bit movable until you get them fully stuck down, but once you get them stuck down, they're down. I don't want to pop any of these up because then the card won't sit nice and flat. I also want to put some sequins here, so just popping. So this is how easy it is. You place them through, and guess what? You just pick them up, drop them, boom. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and one more, 11. There we go. And does that look pleasing to the eye? I think I'm going to move this one a little bit further down. Get a little bit of wiggle room on there. I also lined up, and when I cut my paper, it was kind of a fluke on the first one, and I just made sure I did it second, is that these little dots right across here, they're perfect. They lined up just perfectly. And so on the previous card, I went to the top, and I placed one right there. And then I went skip 2 and then down, and then skip 2 and then down. So it's just kind of a fun little way, skip 2. So it's kind of like putting on every third one. It's just a little bit of something. I didn't want to add another stamp, but I wanted something in this column basically. And it's just this fun element going through here. Now in this little space right here, I did add 3 little sequins, and I'm going to add them right in the centers. Now again, do you see the worm or do you see the star? But I'm placing them right here in the center of the star, using the guide to help me. I got a little extra freebie on my finger. And then I found these fun little strips here, and I don't have enough left of this one, so I'm going to leave that for another time. And they're different thicknesses, which I think is so fun. I got this from a company called Love from Lizzie. Again, the link will be down below. And I'm going to place one kind of in between the stars, or in the middle of the worm, depending on how you want to look at it. So now you can almost really see the worm. See all the little half circles there? So I didn't have as much of a problem, and I'll show you the comparison because I used a different sheet of paper, but I want to make it dead on. So there's the first one. And then I just come in with my scissors right there. Now, why did you not see me cut these out, die cut these out? Because I fussy cut them. I do not have the die for this particular stamp set. So I spent time, and I didn't think you guys wanted to see me fussy cut that. So I spent the time and I fussy cut those after I colored them. I just wanted to show you guys how to color them. But yeah, when I do fussy cutting, I use these scissors that you're seeing right here. They have a nice hinge, and I always make sure I leave a little bit of a white space. So if you don't have dies for that particular stamp set, you can still use them and die cut them out and place them how you want to. It just takes a little bit more time. I will say having the dies is really nice, but it's not a mandatory thing. Or if you have one like those Brothers Scan and Cuts, that's another way that you can get around it. So then I place that little piece right there. It just kind of adds a little something, a little bit something different. You could almost add a strip into every one of those little stars. And instead of making it now, it's stars, half moons, and then you see worms. I don't know, it depends on what you see. Still think, I don't know. You guys have to tell me what you guys see. All right, now opening it up to the front, and just as a comparison, we're back to the front. I followed the lines down again. So I'm adding the sequins right here. I have one here, and then I'm going to continue. I'm going to pop one here and continue that kind of trend I had. Skip 2 and go right there. I just think it's kind of fun. And then I'm lining 3 up. So here's where my 3 extra came into. Didn't need my extra. I was good. I was good. Actually, I did put one in upside down, so I'm kind of glad I made a few extras. And there they are, little Fox and Hound cards, or our little happy friend cards. This one I added some extra sentiments along with it at the bottom, but this one I didn't. I left them plain. Which one do you like better? I also changed up some of the patterns of the papers as we went along, so it's not completely matchy-matchy, but it's kind of a fun way of changing it up. I also, at the bottom here, I changed up because this is a fox, I put Foxy, and because this is the Hound, Stop Hounding Me, kind of played with that. The rest of the card is pretty straightforward. Change up one little piece of paper right there. This stuff, this is exactly the same. Open it up again, and we have reverse color from previously, and then this I kept the same, except I changed kind of the order of the paw prints, and then I changed where I put my stamp. Almost looked like it was like further along in a strip of paper that I cut or something. So I hope you guys enjoy this fun little folded mini card, fun fold card. I don't know how to explain that. A mini card in a fun fold card is the best way to kind of say that. And this has got a 2-fold, but it's got a 3rd fold. So it's kind of a 3-fold mini card, fun fold card. I gotta give a huge shout out to Dawn Stamping Thoughts. I was going through all my YouTube videos and I happened to see this one a while back. I was like, I have to try it, and I just think it's fun. I put my own spin on it by cutting this a little bit shorter, and the size of my little front card here is a little bit of a different dimension, so I didn't have to pull out a separate sheet of paper because I could make the entire base of the card with one sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And then I used some cutesy stamps. She did something very different, but you can always go check that out for her. I think she did it back in 2018, so it's been about a year and a half actually, but lots of fun. Please come back and check out our another Wednesday video. We are live next Wednesday, so don't fret. That will be coming. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Please subscribe and hit that bell button, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.